What up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Hard Knock Radio. Davey D hanging out with you this afternoon. And on today's show, we take a trip to Oakland and let you hear sights and sounds of yesterday's Occupy Oakland. We also have a commentary from Amir Abu Jamal, and we also will be talking with rap artist out of Pittsburgh, Jasiri X. All that and more coming up. It is all over the country. We are continuing our conversations about the Occupy movement. We had Occupy in Oakland, Occupy in New York, Occupy in San Diego, L.A., you name the place, is jumping off. One of the people who has actually done a video, a song, and has been to a couple of them is Jasiri X. He's no stranger to our show, but he happens to be in the Bay Area this week, so we wanted to sit down and talk with him. First of all, you just put out a song with a video. You and Rebel Diaz have put out songs to really give this movement a soundtrack. Some people are very critical of the movement. They say that people of color have been excluded, that it's confusing, that there aren't any demands. What's your thoughts on it, you know, especially since you've been at a lot of these big marches and what have you?
Well, I think that the people that say that are individuals that are really relying on the mainstream media or corporate media to get their information about Occupy Wall Street. If you go to Occupy Wall Street, which we did, you'll see, number one, we saw many people of color there participating. And I mean, they've put out a list of demands, they had Keith Olbermann actually read a prepared statement about, what they wanted and different responses. So I think people, like I said, people that have that misconception of those that are only looking to corporate media for their attention. But if you really, do even a minimal search, you can find information about what Occupy Wall Street wants. And if you go down there like we did, we saw a lot of black and brown people involved in the movement, as we should be.
What are some of the things that you saw that people were talking about?
Well, I saw people talking about health care. I saw people talking about jobs, education. So you had contingents of teachers there representing there. We saw doctors for the 99%. So you had a group of doctors that were representing for the 99%. And so, but basically, the principal thing was, stopping the war on the working people, getting, well-paying and, I guess, sustainable jobs for people, and also eliminating the corporate interest in politics. You had a sign that said people on Wall Street should buy stock, not politicians. And so it was definitely a theme that politics should be separate and not be so controlled by corporate money, which is unfortunately what we see. And then we see corrupt politicians, and then we see a industry that almost collapsed our economy, really collapsed the economy. We had to bail them out of taxpayer pockets, $700 to $800 billion, and nobody's held accountable.
We're here with Jasiri X this afternoon. You were at the big march that they had last week in New York. You had come up from D.C., but you were also knee-deep in what was going on in Madison. People kind of forget that whole fight around keeping the public sector unions alive. You actually did a good song about it and featured a lot of the footage there. First of all, do you connect the two, and how would you compare the type of momentum that was in Madison versus what you see now? And I'm asking how you would compare that, because one would think that Madison, that movement would have grown a lot more, or maybe it did, and we just not paying attention.
Well, I definitely connected. I think what you saw in Madison, Wisconsin was really the first occupation. And when we went to Madison and actually talked to people in Madison, the first people that actually occupied the State House were students from the University of Wisconsin. And so very similar to the young people that you saw make the sacrifice to occupy Wall Street. And then it grew, and then, the unions and different people began to get on board. So I really almost see what happened in Madison is like the jump-off point, or like I said, the first occupation. And I think what Occupy Wall Street was able to do was not only to occupy Wall Street, but a very sophisticated and savvy use of the internet, of social media, and kind of branding it in a way that made it, bigger than, I think with Madison, Wisconsin, people had a tendency to limit that to just Madison and just, these particular workers in connection with Governor Scott Walker and their attempts to deal with it. So it was made regional. And I think what Occupy Wall Street was able to do was say, no, all of us should be upset at Wall Street, because Wall Street didn't represent just a place in New York, but really an out-of-control, unregulated industry that seriously damaged the economy of the United States of America and the world.
That's the voice of Jasiri X. If you're just tuning in this afternoon, there was concern that these movements would be co-opted. And we'll start with the obvious one. Is this a platform for Obama? I've been asking everybody who's been involved, and it varies. But what's your take on this? Is he highly criticized in these places, or is this in some roundabout way his jump off, his answer to the Tea Party, and this is what he's using to catapult him into the White House in 2012?
I would say, I would emphatically disagree with that. I think it could have been a jump off point for President Obama if President Obama had lent any type of voice or support to what happened in Madison, Wisconsin, and he chose not to do that. And I think his silence around and his refusal to really make serious reforms and even punish people or indict somebody, do something in regards to Wall Street's out of control behavior that cost taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. And so it can't be his jump-off point. And what we saw at Occupy Wall Street were many signs that they're very, very critical of Obama, as I think they should be, because I think we all can agree, and even probably people in his inner circle, that he did not do enough to hold the people accountable that destroyed this economy, and is not doing it now. So I doubt it would be.
What do you say to those that he can't do it, that he needs a second term, and that, really this is chestnut checkers and blah, 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 and that, he just doesn't have the resources to go after people?
I would disagree. He put a reform commission together. He had a brilliant leader of that in Elizabeth Warren, and he bowed to the pressure from the right wing and Wall Street, and then removed her from that position. So I think that Obama, if you have been watching them like I have, he's always tried to find this invisible center ground that really does not exist in politics in 2011, but some way where he could take a little bit from the Republicans and maybe add a spice of Democrats and try to find this middle ground. And to me, he totally misinterpreted the anger of the people in regards to what's happening in the United States right now. And I think that, he's really behind what's happening on Wall Street. So I totally disagree with that. And I think that if he had done something, that, he probably would be, skating into a second term. But now it's going to be very difficult, because I can't see Occupy Wall Street endorsing him unless he chooses to do something in his late hour. Maybe he can hit a ninth-inning home run,
Well, there you have it. That's something to think about. Once again, that's Jasiri X.